So it's that time again. We need to make some more flowers, and it's gonna be really advanced in this technique. So stay tuned, because this is what we're gonna do today, and it's gonna be really spectacular. Alright, so to create this flower, we're gonna be using a Spline to start with. And we are going into the Simple tab, and we are gonna control this angle P, set it to 35 maybe, and give it some bend. Just like that. I think that should be good. Maybe a little more like this. Yeah. So just find a nice curve. And then we're gonna go and set the length to 100. Set the segments to 64. Go into the Object tab and set the end value to something that looks like this in the curve. So I'm actually gonna go in here and set the bend a little bit lower. Like this, maybe. All right. So now we need to create a null, and we do that by pressing Alt-G to put the Spline inside of a null. We're gonna call this inside, and now we're gonna go up here and select a lathe, and the lathe we're gonna set inside of the inside null, and we're gonna take the Spline inside of the lathe. And now we have a flower, but it doesn't look that good. So we're gonna go inside the lathe, and then we're gonna move it down here in the movement, and we're gonna do some scaling on it. I'm actually gonna move it up a bit, like this. Scale it a bit more down, and then I'm gonna set the angle to 500 degrees. All right, and I see we need to do a little bit more scaling so it doesn't intersect like this. All right, so now we got a interesting looking flower, but we still need to do some work because we need the leaves. And to do that, we are just gonna copy this Spline out here, and then we're gonna press Alt-G to put it inside a folder, call it outside. In here, we are going to create a plane. And let's just hide the inside null. On the plane, we're gonna set it to 100 in the width and 50 in the height. And then I'm just gonna press NF to go to a lines mode, hidden lines mode. You can also do it up here, but I just press NF. All right, so let's set the height segments to 3, and let's keep the width segments to 10. And let's go and take a taper, put it underneath, and say fit parent. And I know we're gonna go to X plus. So we can do that. And as you can see, when we bring the curvature up and we bring this strength up, we get a more leaf shape. And one more thing, actually, we need to make this editable, and we need to go into the poly select mode, and we need to press UL to bring up the loop selection tool. It's also right over here, the UL loop selection. And then we need to go to the move tool and bring this down. All right. So we get a curve like this. Then we can go back, go into the object mode. And as you can see, we have more of a leaf shape. But here at the bottom, it's a bit thick, and we don't want that. So let's go and duplicate the taper. Let's put it underneath here. So it's bottom, and this is the top. And we're simply just going to rotate the bottom 180 degrees. And then we're going to go into the bottom taper. We're going to pull the strength down a bit and the curvature. And then we're going to make the size a little bit smaller. And we're going to move it down here. Let's pull up the strength. All right, so we got something like this. I think that should be fine. So I'm actually just going to go here to the plane, go into the poly mode again, and pull it a bit further down. Yeah, so we got more of a cup shape. Or a spoon, maybe. So this plane can be put inside of the outside null. And then we need the last thing, which is, where is it? A spline warp. And the spline warp should be put at the bottom of the stack. All right, so inside of the spline warp, we have the spline section. And we're going to put our most spline inside of the spline section. So as you can see, we're cloning onto this. So we need to select the most spline for our outside leaf. And we need to make it a little bit bigger in the length. And then we need to mess with these. So the bend deformer goes in and the angle P goes out. So we get more of a aggressive curve here. All right. So now we take this outside folder and we put it inside of Cloner. And we set the cloner to radial. We remove all of the radius. And then we set it to free clones. So as you can see, we need to adjust the tapers so it works better. So this taper we need to move here. And the bottom we also need to give maybe some more curvature. Maybe this needs some more curvature. And it could also be that we need to move it a bit down, give it a bit of curvature. This one could go here. Maybe. And we could also go into the symbol here and move it closer together. All right, so you get the point. We want to close these gaps. So I'm quickly just going to do that. Now you see the gaps are closed and we got a nice looking shape. So now we just need to hide these so we don't clutter up our viewport. And it's time for the animation. If we unhide the inside like this, we're still intersecting. So we need to move our most spline a little bit further up in the length. And that also means we need to move it a little bit in. And it also means we need to go back to our tapers and taper it a little bit more. Maybe not in the strength, in the curvature. Strength needs to be like this. The curvature like this. I think that should be fine. All right. So now we have a cloner for the outside. Let's call it outside. And we actually also need a cloner for the inside. But for the inside, we only needed to set it to linear. And we need to set it to one clone. Because then we can actually control it with a fields, with a effector, a plane effector. And that's important for later. So let's call it inside. And now I'm quickly just going to make two materials. I'm going to make one green and I'm going to make one that's purple. Or bluish, maybe. Blue. That's a good color. So the inside is going to be blue and the outside is going to be green. All right. So let's tackle the animation. And for that, we need 2 plane effectors. We're going to call one outside, and we're going to call the other one inside. Then we're going to go and put the inside of the inside effector. And we're going to put the outside inside of the outside cloner. So let's just hide the outside cloner, and let's just focus on this inside one. So we are going to delete the position. So we're only going to be scaling. So I'm going to be scaling on the Y mostly. I'm going to be scaling up by 7. And I'm also going to be scaling a little bit in the X and the C. But we mostly want to get this growing effect like this, right? So for this effect to work, we need to add a field on it. So we need to add a linear field. We can call it inside. Let's go back. And we need to put a delay modifier on it. We need to set it to spring and just put it to 50, as it already is. So let's select the inside fields, the linear field, and let's turn it up here. So as you can see, we are scaling down. All right, so let's just set it down here. We can animate it later. So let's go and hide the inside and unhide the outside, because now we're gonna focus on that. So here on the outside plane effector, we're gonna go to the parameters. Let's delete the position. Let's turn on the scale option, and let's scale it down in the Y to -0.4. Let's scale it down here in the C, and also set that to -4. So as you can see, we're just scaling the pedal down, but we also want it to open. So what we need to do is we need to put on some rotation. And I know it's the P rotation, because remember before we changed the P angle in our mouse spline. So we are going to set it to -35. And I think that should be good. So let's unhide the inside. It's a bit too much, I think. So let's get it back here. And I think that should be good, actually. Something that we also need to do is that we need to go inside of the fields option for the outside plane effector. And we need to create a linear field. And the linear field is going to be called outside. And inside of the fields option, we are again going to add a delay modifier, set it to spring, and that's it. So that also needs to be turned around. And as you can see, when we move it up, we get this effect. So we actually need to turn these two around. We can go and put these outside of the plane effectors, and we can put inside out of the outside. And I'm going to explain why I do that. So when we have it as a child, we only need to animate one of them, and the other one will follow. Right? So I can see this inside one, we need to turn it around again. Like this. So it opens up like that. That's really cool, right? So actually we need to turn the whole thing around again. 180 degrees, because we need to be going up. All right. So let's just set a keyframe here on the outside animator. Let's set a keyframe at 0. when we're down here, and let's go to frame 60 and set a keyframe up here. As you can see, it's a bit weird in the delay. It's kind of like it's hitting a wall. It's not overshooting, it's bouncing. And we don't want that. So really important step, go into the fields option and uncheck this clamp. Also do it on the inside plane effector. And would you look at that? Now we got some nice bouncing going on here. And you can always go in to the inside or the outside and turn the effect down, as you can see here. So it doesn't bounce as much. But let me just go back, because I want it to bounce a lot. Alright, so that's actually the flower. Now we just need to distribute it out. And how do we do that? Well, we go and create a cloner. We call it flower. So we'll go and take the outside and the inside cloner, and we're going to press Alt-G to put them inside of a folder. Let's call this flower. And we'll put the flower folder or the flower null inside of the cloner flower. Alrighty. So this one is going to be set to object, the cloner. And then we're going to take a cylinder. Let's go to the hidden lines mode, like this. And let's set the rotation segments to 5. Let's set the height segments to 8. And let's pull the radius in here to, what you say, 10 centimeters. And let's put the height to something more like 600. I think that should be fine. Now we need to go and put a twist modifier underneath the cylinder. And we're gonna go here on the twist modifier, fit to parent, and we're gonna turn the angle up. So you can see we're really rotating this. And I'm gonna put it to 720. So 2 full rotations. So we're gonna go back to our flower cloner, and inside of distribution, we are going to set it to vertex. And as you can see, we're not only cloning on the sides, we're also cloning on top and bottom. And that's not what we want. So let's go inside of the cylinder and let's go to caps and turn off caps. Alrighty, so let's go back into the flower cloner and let's go to transform and let's pull this number down, the P rotation. And as you can see, it's much better. So I can actually see a problem we have here. And the problem is that in our outside, the outside leaf is too big. So it's too bulky and it doesn't look that good. So I'm just gonna go into my outside folder here and go to the Spline. And I'm just gonna mess a bit around with these angle options here. And I think maybe something more like this could be nice. Yeah, just like that. And then I'm also gonna mess with my curvature a bit on my tapers. Remember before we also did that. So just gonna mess a bit more with that. And as you can see, it's much better now. So what we can do now is we can close this up, this folder here. And what we can do is go into the cylinder and we can actually set it to 1 more rotation. And that makes it a little bit easier for us. And we can even make it a bit higher and a bit wider. All right, so now they shouldn't be intersecting that much. So now we just need to add a bit of variation to this. So what we need to do is go and find a plane effector. And this plane effector we're gonna call scalar. And inside of that, we're gonna go to scale and scale it in the Y position. And then we're gonna put it inside of our flower cloner in the effector stack. And as you can see, we have scaled everything. So we're also gonna scale on the X, I think, and maybe also on the Y. So maybe we shouldn't scale as much. Right around here, that should be fine. But now our flower is intersecting. So we need to go back here to the outside. We need to go to Spline Warp, and we set it to from minus 3. Nice. All right, so that should be working now. And as you can see, when we play it, we have a nice looking animation. And why did we create this scalar? Well, that's because we need to go into the fields option and we need to create another linear field. And this time we need to turn it around and we need to make it a little bit bigger. So go to the length over here and make it a little bit bigger. So as you can see, they are biggest at the bottom and smaller at the top. Alrighty. So now if we play it, we can even hide this linear field here. So we only see the one that's animating. And as you can see, we have a nice looking animation. So if we want to make it a little bit nicer and a little bit more advanced, then we can go and do two things. And one of the things is that I want to add a little line here in the middle for the seeds of the flower. And that could be easily achieved by just going in to the inside cloner and going here to the mouse spline, duplicating that outside of the inside folder. And let's go to keyframe, that's good. Then we need to select this mouse spline. Let's call it line. Let's just go and delete this angle and let's go and delete this bend. So as you can see, we have a line now that's going in the wrong direction. So let's actually hide or disable the flower here. Let's hide this, which is the cylinder. And let's actually see what's happening. All right, so it's this line, right? So it's this line down here. So we need to go and put it up here in the middle. And I know I need a little bit of a bend and then I need some twist in it. So we make it a little bit more organic. And then I want the line to be bigger. I want the line to be at least, I think, at least 150, maybe. And as you can see, we have a weird looking line that's double. And don't know why. But I know that we can go into display mode and only display the line. And then we only get the line that's displayed here. So this line here, maybe we should set it to 120 and that should be totally fine. So let's go and create a sweep for that. And we're just gonna create a normal sweep. Let's go in here, put the line in, and then we also need to create a circle because we need to sweep it with something. So the circle, we're just gonna make 1 centimeter and like this. So the circle has to be on top of the mouse spline. And let's create another color. Let's make it yellow. Let's put it on top of the sweep. And let's actually go inside of the sweep and go to details, and we're gonna mess with the scale. So we're gonna set these 2 points at the middle. Then we're gonna press Control to make 2 points. Actually, we're gonna make 3 points, and then we're gonna pull these up. And I can see that we need to move these 2 points a little bit further. And as you can see, we have made a little bubble here at the end. All right, so as you can see, it's looking so much nicer. And it even works in here. So as you can see, it's blooming and then it's popping out. So let's turn on our flower cloner again. And as you can see, let's just zoom out here. It's still working and it's looking really awesome. And the last thing we can do to make it a little bit more random, I'm just gonna set my timeline to 150. So let me just close this cloner here. And let's also tidy up the project a bit, like this. And let's go and make the last adjustment, which is going to be making a random effector. And the random effector, we're gonna turn off the position values. We're only gonna turn on the rotation values. We're gonna set the P rotation to 5 degrees and the B rotation to 5 degrees. All right, so let's go to the Effector tab, and under the random mode, we're gonna select turbulence. Let's set the turbulence speed to 25, and let's go into the flower cloner, and let's go into the Effector tab and put it inside there. So as you can see, we have got some random movement here. And if you want it to be more random, you can go inside of the random effector and pull the animation speed up, say maybe 50, and then it moves faster. And then you can even put it to a higher scale. That also works. Maybe let's set it to 35. And as you can see, it's a really nice looking effect. So let me just preview it for you. And this is the effect we have created today. It's a real nice looking effect. It's dynamic and it's really easy to replicate. So that was how to create this foxglove or lupine. I don't know what you call this flower, but it's a really nice flower and it's a really nice technique. So if you want to know what lighting setup I used, well, you can go and download my light pack in the description below. You can also go and follow me on Instagram, the link is in the description, because I post a lot of stuff there and most of it is actually related to the videos. So if you like this video and want to see more, then subscribe to the channel, because there's going to be so many videos this year and they're going to be great. I can assure you that. So I hope you have a nice day and I hope you use this technique wisely. So adios from here.